Greetings, Erata non grata, and I meant to get to this earlier in the month because September is the birthday month for the Atari Lynx, one of my favorite pieces of gaming tech overall, and certainly in the top 10 from the 1980s. I mean, yes, even though most of the Lynx's lifespan is from the 90s, it was released on September 1st, 1989. Although it wasn't really available for retail until October. It was released in very small quantities. It actually preceded the Jaguar as far as Atari only released it into two cities. If I recall correctly, it was only San Francisco and New York at the time, and then they did a wider rollout. But as a kid, I remember coming across the Lynx. I will open up my Lynx carrying case here while I talk. But I remember coming across not the Lynx itself, but ads for it in comic books, and the version that had popped up in those comic books was the Model 1 or Mark 1, I think it was officially called. And yes, it's huge, but again, this was 1980s technology, and this completely outclassed the Game Boy. I mean, full color screen. Larger screen, backlit, LCD. It was ambidextrous, so if you pushed these two buttons here, it would flip the screen, and then if you are left-handed, you could play it like this. But of course, for us right-handers, we would play it this way. Now the Mark 1, I mean, even though it's big, it's still comfortable, it's ergonomic here. And I love the feel of the buttons on the Mark 1 here. The D-pad on the Mark 2, which was released in 1992, I believe. This is probably the model that most people are familiar with here. I love the D-pad on this one, as I was just saying. I like the buttons on this one too, but I don't know, there's just something about those buttons on the Mark 1 that are a little better. The Mark 2, it added stereo sound, and of course there was a headphone jack. There is a headphone jack on the top there. And you could also turn off the backlight. It was to make it a little bit better on the battery life. It's slightly smaller, as you can see as well, but it's still kind of huge. But overall, just a fantastic little system that unfortunately just didn't do what Atari needed it to do for them to stay in business. It is a real shame because, I mean, it really was one of the most powerful handhelds out for a long time. I'm pretty sure it was more powerful than the the Turbo Express, as well as the Game Gear. It's just, it never had the resources behind it to develop some of those games in that regard. Now, here are some of the Lynx games that I have. I actually didn't bring my entire collection with me to work, but without pulling them all out one by one, I've got Todd's Adventures in Slime World, which is what I'm going to show and talk about here for most of the video. Shadow the Beast, Rampart. This one I probably spent the most time playing. I should have said earlier, I got my Lynx back in 1997. I wanted it back in 1990, 91 when I saw it in the comic books, but it was $200, and as a kid, like a 9, 10-year-old kid, I didn't have that kind of money, not even close. Crystal Mines 2, another one of my favorites that I played a ton. Chips Challenge, I didn't get this one until much later on, and I know this one is rated as like the #1 game by a lot of Lynxers, but for me it's okay, but it's not my favorite Lynx game. Stun Runner, Ninja Gaiden, Checkered Flag, very good racing game, far better than what came out on the Jaguar. Road Blasters, which is also very good port. I used to own a Road Blasters arcade machine. Toki, which I have a Toki arcade board. Rampage, I also used to own a Rampage arcade machine. And Super Squeak there. I've never owned a Rampart arcade machine. Those are a little hard to come by. Here's a homebrew cartridge, and this is one of the most technically impressive Lynx games ever created by Duranick, called Alpine Games. It's basically winter games like Epix did, but by them. And then another technically impressive one that I've talked about before and shown before, Battlezone 2000. Now again, I do have more games than this, but just didn't bring them all with me for today. Okay, so we're going to play some Todd's Adventures in Slime World, just briefly. In this game, it's kind of long, so it's kind of hard to play for a long time. But what's really good about this game is it's basically Metroid. It's the only Metroid that we ever really got on an Atari system, except for, I guess, Draconis on the Atari 8-bits. But this game is just, I mean, it's not quite the same as Metroid, but if you've never seen this one, I'll show you in a minute here. So there's 6 adventures, and each one has this little story, but basically the whole point of most of them is to just get to the end. 5 is fairly difficult because your gun doesn't work. 4 is kind of difficult too because the whole planet, which is made out of slime, aka Slime World, is going to explode, and you have to pick up mushrooms to delay the meltdown by 1 minute, so that one's tough. And then 6 also can be a bit of a challenge because you can't restart, just get as far as you can. But I probably spent most of the time playing 1. Now, this one really cool thing about this is that it had comlink support. You could do multiplayer, and my ended up getting a second Lynx back in the day so that my brother could play with me, my younger brother. Now I need to remember all the controls and stuff. So I have not played this game in a few years. But you usually get your items. Those little sparkles there, those would be checkpoints. And then you have slime gems. So one thing that happens as you're walking through Slime World, you can see the dripping slime. If you get covered in too much slime, you'll turn green, and eventually you can die. And so with red slime gems, or super slime gems, they make you invincible for a time. Also, pools of water are what you can use to prevent the slime from getting on you. But that's another thing too, is when you it has all these slime gems at the beginning, which you don't actually need yet. But when you blow up enemies and they burst into slime, or there's these, slime will get stuck on you and it'll cause slime damage, covering you in slime. And again, you'll eventually turn into slimy. Let's see what that looks like. So here's a slime pit. So if I stay in this long enough, it's hard to hear. See, now I'm green. A slime gem slightly cleanses me off, but if I really want to get cleaned off, I have to go into a pool of water. And there we go. Jetpacks can be very useful. Now, another thing that you can come across in this game that I really enjoy is the secrets. Sometimes you can shoot walls and it'll show a new place. There's a big slime waterfall. And let me see, option 2. Oh, that uses your equipment. But if I go into slime, I think it'll blow everything up. Yep. Been a while since I've again played this. There we go. So yeah, lots of hidden places here. Sorry if I was out of focus there, not realizing it. I'm looking at the screen and not the camera so much. But again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time playing this because it can actually go on for a while. But since I died, oops, there we go. I got slime on me. Anyways, have you ever played Slime World? What do you think? I know some in the Lynx community just don't like this, and I guess I don't know why. There was a version on the Sega Genesis, but I've never played that. I remember seeing ads or seeing a review for it in GamePro, which was, I think, the first time I had heard about it, and then I found out that it was on the Lynx, and I was interested in it from there. There we go. Gun power-ups are what you want, because then you can fire more water. Let's see, slime shields. Okay, so pushing option 1, well, like you can pull up a computer map. If I push option 2, oops, then that shows me my map. And again, these caverns are enormous. Let's turn that off. Slime shield will make me temporarily invincible to slime. Pop is kill yourself. pretty much. And I don't really have any other items at this time. And some of these enemies are indestructible, like those guys, you can stun them by hitting them with your gun temporarily. But, and then there's a, new jetpack. And now I'm completely covered in slime and I'm dead. But yeah, I do enjoy this one. It's like Metroid in the sense of the exploration. It doesn't have the dread that usually accompanies Metroid games, because there's oftentimes a bit of horror elements in Metroid and tension and things like that. This one doesn't necessarily have that, mainly because, I don't know, maybe it's the sounds that are a little goofy or something, but it's too bad that this game just seemed to have gotten ignored, because if you like exploring alien sci-fi worlds and lots of secrets and getting items and stuff, I guess that's another thing it does differently too. Its item system is different from, say, Metroid. Oops. Physics are different too. Blow that guy up. But I think this game shows that the Lynx could totally have done a Metroid-like game. And, this would maybe be classified as a Metroidvania? I don't know. There's no text or anything that you have to come across. But, yeah, let me know what you think about it. Oh, yeah, Mega Bombs. If I threw this into the room, it'd blow up everything in the room. Now, you can avoid getting caught in the blast by leaving the room right before it explodes, but otherwise you'll die. But yeah, let me know what you think about this one. Let me know what you think about the Lynx. What's your favorite game on the Lynx? Do you agree that Slime World is a cool game, or do you hate it like some people do? Let me know what you think, and we'll catch you on the next video.